Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. Today we are going to discuss qualitative research design. This lecture is a part of your paper Communications Research Introduction. When you surf across internet pages, you will find thousands of postings, videos and photos explaining people's life experiences and ideas. This is nothing but a qualitative explanation to their life experiences. The word qualitative is self-explanatory. It refers to the qualities of an entity expressed in a very explanatory manner rather than their number. Denzin and Lincoln in 2005, while differentiating between qualitative and quantitative studies, explain qualitative researchers stress the socially constructed nature of the reality, the intimate relationship between the researcher and what is studied, and the situational constraint that shape the inquiry. Such researchers emphasize the value-laden nature of inquiry. They seek answers to questions that stress how social experience is created and given meaning. In contrast, quantitative studies emphasize the measurement and analysis of causal relationships between variables, not processes. Qualitative forms of inquiry are considered by many social and behavioral scientists to be as much a perspective on how to approach investigating a research problem as it is a method. In this lecture, you will learn about qualitative studies, their types, stages of analysis, various approaches, basic design about constant comparative methods. Research designs depend upon cool and rational assessment of alternatives as stated by Silverman in 2013. We need to study various group dynamics. Many uphold stories and something that is beyond the capture of science and numbers. So qualitative research is done to have a detailed and complex understanding of an issue. For example, you can evaluate the cost of a plate of curry, but you cannot quantify its significance to its eaters. Quantitative and qualitative, the very words denote their respective meanings. Qualitative research study is a circular process. Day in 2005 described qualitative research as a circular process. The qualitative study moves through related processes like describing the phenomena, classifying it, and interconnecting the concepts with each other. Qualitative research study is a circular process. Let us briefly discuss these processes. The initial step in qualitative analysis is to develop a thorough and comprehensive description of the phenomena under study. This is what is called thick description of the phenomena. Thick description includes information about the context of an act, meaning, and intentions that organize action and subsequent solutions. as pointed out by Dennis in 1978. While describing a phenomena, qualitative researcher has to take care of three important factors: context, event, and intention. It's the responsibility of the analyst to give an appropriate and reasonable explanation to the phenomena under study. The data merely give a basis for analysis, they don't detect it, as explained by Burgess in 1982. So it's the researcher who classify the data and give it the appropriate meaning. The researchers are so good at dissecting the data that they often forget to put them in order again, as told by Conway and Highfield in 1991. Concepts are building blocks of research. So the first step in qualitative analysis is to set the concepts and put them into order, connecting with each other. Data collection procedure. Crestwell in 2014 in his book Research Designed mentioned various steps in data collection for qualitative research. These are: identify the purposefully selected sites or individuals for the proposed study. The logic behind selecting materials, sites, or individuals purposefully is for the convenience of the researcher. In this way, he can understand the research question and problem appropriately, which will help him in the long run. Second, fix your sample size. Sample size depends on the type of study the researcher is conducting. For example, for case study method, maximum 4 to 5 sample is enough. The idea of saturation is derived from ground theory, as told by Charmaz in 2006, outlined that the researcher should stop gathering data when particular category or theme reach to a saturation point. This will help researcher to keep the spark every time he collects data on the topic. Data collection procedure. Next is indicate the types of data to be collected. In qualitative research, the procedure of data collection depends on the types of data and setting in which the data is to be collected. Depending on that, it could be qualitative observation, qualitative interviews, qualitative documents, or collection of qualitative audiovisual materials for the proposed research study. The next point is include data collection type that goes beyond typical observation and interview. The way researcher is collecting data should be interesting. Data fascinates the respondent as well as the reader. Traditional approach to analyze qualitative data. There are two main general approaches to analyze qualitative data. Qualitative data will be coded into quantitative form, especially to test the hypothesis. Then analysis will be performed by bringing all the data together on a table, matching and comparing the variables, traditional approach to analyze qualitative data, if the analyst only intends to develop theory, new concepts and their properties, hypothesis and interrelated hypothesis, then researcher just skip details like coding, then analyzing. He can inspect his data for new properties and write down memos on these properties, as cited by Becker and Gear in 1960. Constant comparative methods in qualitative research. Comparative method as described by Panning in 2006 is a research strategy which focuses on the explanations by describing different system across time and space. It is helpful in resolving dilemma without comparison. So, to analyze data, he demonstrated 5 alternatives such as studying single case at a particular time, studying single case with respect to time series, comparing similar cases in respective time interval. All cases are supposed to be relevant with respect to particular time period. All cases are supposed to be relevant across time and space. Similarly, Glaser in 1965 proposed for a third approach. He has taken a middle path between two traditional approaches of data analysis. He has combined an analytical procedure of constant comparison, the explicit coding procedure of the first approach, and the style of theory development in the second. The sole reason behind using constant comparative approach is to build theory in a more systematic manner. It will avoid the shortcomings in traditional method, which are only interested in developing theory by testing hypothesis without developing any sensitivity towards real inspection. So, the constant comparative approach is designed to aid analysts in this ability to generating theory which is integrating, plausible, consistent and close to data, as pointed out by Glaser. Glaser described constant comparative approach in 4 stages. First is comparing incidents relevant for each category. The analyst should code each category of data as many category as possible. Next step is to compare it with similar category of data. For example, a villager describing loss of social capital of villagers because of riots. So, the analyst has to compare it similar experiences rather than an annoyed category. Constant comparison between similar categories will help in building theory closer to the data. After coding for a particular category, several times, the analyst may find some confusion or state of puzzle. At this point of time, the analyst should stop interpreting and start working for next category, stop coding and start writing memos on ideas. This step is meant to provide a fresh outlook to the analyst rather than stalking himself around confused ideas. While moving through the process, the analyst should take as much time as required to ground him again on logic, integrating categories and their properties. This step follows the rule of doing things in small chunks, writing small memos. But as the process of coding goes on, the analyst carry on comparing incident to incident beyond constant comparisons. For example, as analysts keep on recording people's perception on loss in rights, he can draw most influential factor that makes people vulnerable. Delimiting the theory. At the theory development stage, various features of constant comparative method set into curb what would otherwise become an overwhelming task. The process of delimiting is adopted at two stages: theory and the original list of studies proposed for categories. By delimiting means before the theory building, convert them into small group of concepts. For example, the researcher wants to build theory based on the experiences collected from Roy's victims. He derived from common experiences the kind of problems they are facing in post-Roy's period. Further narrowing down the terminology, he can describe those Roy's victims who lose their relatives living in a very miserable condition. So in these data, the cause effect of Roy's present in undercurrent form. Writing a theory as a final product of the analyst will have a set of concepts, a series of memo and a theory. The matter of discussion in memos will be the background for theory formation. Every detail will be converted into written format or book. The analyst could give a suitable heading like impact of riots on social category, riots and its consequences, analytic induction method. Constant comparative approach speaks more about theory building, but it lacks giving any details about presentation of data. Analytic induction method is the research logic used to collect data, analyze findings, and organize presentation of research findings as told by Smeltzer and Baltz in 2001. This method gives the scope for sociological appreciation of a phenomena with recurrent feature, that is symbolic interaction methodology, by moving from abstraction to concrete ideas. It also includes negative cases to refine ideas till it gets concrete ideas for representation. So let us summarize what we have discussed in the lecture. We learned about qualitative research design, its steps and methods. We also discussed the constant comparative approach and uses of technology extensively. Qualitative research study focuses on capturing every minute detail rather than losing them in the process of quantifying. In communication research, it has greater importance as it gives the complete freedom to analyzer to use his logical institution. The analyzer can use recorder, camera and many such audio-visual aids to get a complete coverage of data gathering without losing any detail. Do attempt the questions in the self-evaluate quadrant. For further reading suggestions, please refer to the third quadrant. Thank you.